They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today roared, "Mitti mein milane ka samay aa gaya hai," and this had Pakistan rattled and spooked. Pak Army Chief Munir and company have shut its border, trade and its airspace to Indian Airlines and has even suspended 1972 Shimla Agreement. Now let's expose Pak-backed Lashkar Front, which carried out the attack. Can you believe it? They borrowed from the Hamas handbook. Let me in fact take you back to February 5th, 2025. Hamas attended anti-India event in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir for the first time. Hamas representatives were given VIP treatment by Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists. Not just that, similarities have emerged between the Pahalgam Carnage and the October 7th Israel attack by Hamas. The tactics are the same, just like Hamas. Lashkar-backed terrorists strapped cameras to their chests, recorded the attack, chose crowded tourist spots to maximize civilian casualties, coordinated firing with pre-planned entry and exit routes. While Pakistan believes in copying the Hamas tactics, India knows how to strike and when. Let's now tell you a little bit about the possible military options with India. Let's take a look at whether India is going to carry out a Uri-style attack. Rather, should India do that? Should India carry out a Uri-style attack like it happened in 2016? Let me take a look, in fact, here at what was it, the Uri-style? What is the pros and cons? Nighttime commando teams hit launch pads. So this was a style of action when it came to Uri. Pros: it's hard to intercept such type of actions, hard to intercept. But at the same time, if you look at the cons, there's limited shock value when it comes to such actions. Launch pads 0 to 3 kilometers across the LOC were targeted. Pros: that it's familiar. But look at the cons. It lacks the element of surprise. Here we are decoding the Uri style of attack. Let's move to the other pointers as far as the Uri style of attack is concerned. And here, in fact, this is the Balakot type airstrike that happened in 2019. So what we are trying to understand here is it going to be the Uri style of attack or the Balakot style of attack? What happened in the Balakot attack? Rafales, Su-30 MKIs and cruise missiles were used. Pros: it was a strategic surprise attack, so there was a surprise element there. Cons: it needs deep intel and the proof of damage. Remember, many in India in fact asked कि evidence कहाँ है, proof कहाँ है, attack का दिखाओ. Hitting camps 30 to 150 kilometers inside Pakistan. So that is what happened during the Balakot airstrike. Pros: it is a strategic surprise element. Cons: it needs deep intel and damage proof once again. Now there are several options on the table, and instead of worrying about India's response, Pakistan was seen celebrating Pahalgam Carnage. A man was entering the Pakistan High Commission in Delhi with a cake earlier today. The reporters asked him, "What is the celebration for?" There was no response. The official just walked away. Let's first take a look at the sequence.
What is this cake for? What is this celebration for? Are you from Pak High Commission?
What is this cake for?
From Pak High Commission?
Are you from Pakistan High Commission?
Where are you from, sir?
सर एक सवाल है, ये केक
ओकेजन क्या है?
कल ओकेजन
28 लोग मरे हैं, थोड़ा सा बताइए ना, दुख है इस बात का?
सर आप कहाँ से आए हैं, क्या जानकारी के साथ आए हैं?
क्या कहते हैं आप?
दुख है इस बात का?
You're watching the News Hour at 9, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Well, let me directly go across to our experts to decode what is going to transpire. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Senior Fellow IPCS, is joining us on the broadcast along with Mr. Samar Pal Toor, Defense Analyst, and we also have Lieutenant General Raj Shukla, also a defense expert and former Army Commander. Let me begin with you, Abhijit Iyer Mitra. Of course, these things are not discussed in the studio. There's going to be no announcement. This will not be discussed or a statement will be released. But we've seen Uri, we've seen Balakot. What is your analysis?
Operationally, I'm not going to get much into it. The problem is, if you notice, there are lots of similarities both here in India and in Gaza, where, 500 of them will die. But even if one of our pilots gets shot down, they will claim victory and God knows what. Even after we captured 93,000 of them in 1971, you will still have Pakistanis who claim, oh, we lost on the Eastern Front, but we actually won on the Western Front. And you know that fellow Chuck Yeager, the American pilot who crossed the sound barrier, he will actually back it up. In his book, he writes that, Pakistan thrashed India in the air battle and things like that. You have to break this mindset. So that is the most important thing. Operationally, I would say focus on where you've got a huge technological advantage, the Navy and the Air Force. America, as long as it was enforcing the no-fly zone from the air in northern and southern Iraq, was doing very well. The moment they got on the ground, things got very messy. I would say play to your strengths, but then, this is a thing that the military leadership and political leadership need to decide.
Let me also bring in Major Samar Paltur. प्रधानमंत्री ने कह दिया है कि सजा जरूर मिलेगी और ये भी प्रधानमंत्री ने कह दिया है कि जो बची कुची जमीन है हम उसको मिट्टी में मिला देंगे. Now, of course, everybody is waiting to know what that action is going to be. क्या आपको लगता है प्रधानमंत्री ने आज जो कहा बहुत ही measured response था, क्योंकि उनका पूरा फोकस केवल टेरर पर था, उनका पूरा फोकस टेरर बैकर्स पर था?
Basically, Swati, the main thing is this was her first declaration of war against terrorism officially. So, I mean, even when Pulwama happened, intimation was done to countries few hours before. But here, today evening in South Block, in the Ministry of External Affairs, all the major nations have already been called and have been briefed that we are now moving ahead. And we have got the green signal from all these countries. They have condemned this attack, and condemnation is as good as giving a green signal to go ahead. So firstly, there's not going to be any interference from any third country. Hopefully. And then keeping in mind the audacity of the attack, as Abhijit said, the telltale signs are, the replica or the repeat of 7th October 2023. The only thing is that the terrain is so difficult that they definitely couldn't have come in riders. So they came on foot. So the only difference is that. The issue is approximately, 80 to 100 kilometers within our own, boundary, within our own territory. Earlier, I had given a statement that JKP is at fault. But later on, I realized that in so much of depth, why would we need so much of heavy security? And despite that, tourists coming under attack is really atrocious. And, it is not possible without inside help. That is very certain and clear because there was an input which was given on the 15th of April regarding the opening of ultra communication sets. So that SITREP was passed, and probably after that, what has come out as a problem is the coordination between JK police and the military. Why? Because there is paucity of manpower in JK police. They don't have that amount of weapons. They don't have that amount of manpower. Availability nahi ho sakti. And as General GD Bakshi had pointed out at one of the channels that there's been a pullout of approximately a decent number of...
There's one other thing that we picked up, and this is what the agencies briefed the all-party meeting leaders about, of how the hotelier decided to open the place without informing the police or authorities there. The place was supposed to open after a month. Before that, normally a service domination exercise is conducted, which did not happen this time around. I also want to bring in Lieutenant General Shukla. Pakistan has also seen Uri and Balakot. They must be anticipating that perhaps something will happen at the border, near the border. Is there going to be a surprise element, or is there going to be just an action that will hit and hurt Pakistan the most, and the hurt will last long?
See, my sense, Swati, is we've seen many of these attacks in the past. Parliament, Kalmucha, so many of those. What makes this, particularly heinous is this religious targeting. I do not recall in my memory this kind of, religious targeting, this communal terror. This takes, terror to a new low, even by the lowly metrics of terror. So once again, Pakistan has, thrown down the gauntlet. I think that Balakot-induced deterrence has worn off. but they have grievously miscalculated on two accounts. One is if they timed it with the visit of J.D. Vance and they were wanting to turn the spotlight on Kashmir, they have ended up turning the spotlight on themselves as this, terror pariah state. So this has to be answered. And if I read the political temperatures right from the statement of the Honorable Raksha Mantri yesterday, today the Prime Minister identify,
Trace and punish.
Yes, punish. And the Raksha Mantri said not only the perpetrators, but those behind the curtain. So Balakot, we took on the symbols of terror. My sense is that this time the response, we have some of them unfolding today, Indus Water Treaty, the visas and all that stuff. This time it is going to be a large-scale kinetic attack, which will, be at the forefront of the response.
Right.
So that is firstly the big difference. And not only has Pakistan misread the international mood, what they have done, leads me to two more points. Firstly, in the kinetics, there are a range of options across domains, across the escalatory ladder.
So what
that will depend on
you're
tactical...
emphasizing on is that there's going to be a multi-prong attack, not just the military strike that everybody is waiting for, but we've already seen the kind of decisions that have been taken in terms of diplomatic strikes. Gentlemen, I'm completely out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. The Prime Minister already said saza mil karke rahegi. Of course, the entire nation now waiting to see what is that saza going to be and when.